Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Pressure mounts for inquiry into the loss of lives in northern Gaza. Several countries back UN's call for an inquiry. Biden says US military to airdrop food and supplies into Gaza. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in West Bengal to visit Bihar later today will lay the foundation stones of several developmental projects in both the states. Indian stock exchanges, BSE and NSE conduct special live trading sessions to test preparedness for disruption. Andrei Rublev defaulted from Dubai Tennis Championship semi-final for yelling at a line judge. Pressure mounted for inquiry into the loss of lives in northern Gaza, with several countries backing a UN call for an inquiry. Gaza health authorities said over 100 were killed and they were awaiting aid on Thursday, with famine looming nearly 5 months into Hamas-Israel conflict. Israel blamed most of the deaths on crowds that swarmed around the trucks, saying victims had been trampled or run over. British Foreign Secretary David Cameron, who also called for an inquiry, said that Israel had the responsibility to ensure more aid reached Gaza by opening more crossings and removing bottlenecks and bureaucratic obstacles. Israel's military said Thursday's delivery was operated by private contractors as part of an aid operation it had been overseeing. President Biden announced plans to carry out a first military airdrop of food and supplies into Gaza. Biden said that the airdrop would take place in the coming days, but offered no further specifics.
And we need to do more, and the United States will do more. In the coming days, we're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food and supplies into Ukraine, and seek to continue to open up other avenues into Ukraine, including the possibility of a marine corridor to deliver large amounts of humanitarian assistance. In addition to expanding deliveries by land, as I said, we're going to insist that Israel facilitate more trucks and more routes to get more and more people the
Meanwhile, White House spokesperson John Kirby said that Washington was going to redouble efforts to open up a maritime corridor into Gaza to bring hopefully large amount of humanitarian aid by sea.
Matter of fact, as the president just announced, the United States will carry out airdrops of aid into Gaza in coordination with our international partners, particularly Jordan, in the coming days. We're also going to redouble our efforts to open up a humanitarian maritime corridor to deliver amounts of humanitarian assistance by sea, hopefully large amounts by sea. This is, of course, in addition to expanding deliveries by land, which we have been keenly focused on now for many months. We'll continue to push Israel to facilitate more trucks going in and more routes being open so that more aid can get to more people. We're going to continue to pull out every stop to get more aid to people who desperately need it.
Humanitarian aid dropped from the sky over Gaza City for the second time in a week. Several planes airdropped humanitarian aid in the northern strip of Gaza. The flow of aid entering Gaza from Egypt has declined dramatically in the past few weeks. But Israel has said it is not blocking aid and blames the UN and the Palestinian side for any delays. Earlier, Jordan, which the UN and Western donors have turned into a regional hub for humanitarian supplies to Gaza for the first time, carried out 4 flights along with the French army to drop food to thousands of displaced people sheltering on the beach. US President Joe Biden welcomed Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni to the White House on Friday. Biden thanked Meloni for Italy's unwavering support for Ukraine and urged the US Congress to pass a bipartisan bill that will allow more funding for the country. Meloni called the humanitarian crisis in the Middle East her #1 priority and said the US and Italy should work together on concrete steps towards a two-state perspective, which is the only long-term sustainable solution. This year, Italy holds the presidency of the G7, which also groups the United States, Japan, Germany, Britain, France, and will host a summit in June.
The crisis in the Middle East is of the utmost concern. We need to coordinate our actions in order to avoid an escalation, and in this regard, we do fully support the US mediation efforts. The humanitarian crisis is our number one priority. Italy is concentrating its contribution on this. Meanwhile, we are cooperating with all regional actors that must be part of any future outcome. We should work together on concrete steps to guarantee the two-state perspective, which is the only long-term sustainable solution.
US President Joe Biden on Friday said that he hoped there would be a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas by the time of Ramadan, which starts on March 10th, as their conflict in the Gaza Strip intensified.
So you think there may never be a ceasefire negotiation?
I'm still hoping for it. It's not over till it's over. There has to be an agreement on the timing, and they're still far apart.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte have agreed on a bilateral security deal, including €2 billion in military aid to Ukraine this year. The agreement also includes further defense assistance over the next 10 years. The agreement was signed during Rutte's visit to Ukraine's Kharkiv on Friday. With this, the Netherlands has become the 7th country to sign a 10-year security deal with Kyiv, intended at supporting Ukraine's security and freedom. Canada, Italy, Germany, France, Denmark and Britain have signed deals with Ukraine over the past 2 months.
Today, we, Ukraine and the Netherlands, signed a new bilateral security agreement on guarantees and cooperation that envisages the whole spectrum of our interactions now and in the nearest 10 years. All fields of military cooperation on the ground, in the air and at sea, cooperation in the field of technologies, political and economical cooperation. We are interested in joint production, in particular in the development of defense industries in the investments, meaning in providing our defense forces with effective weapons and in providing our people with calm.
Where we are supplying at least €2 billion in military support this year, which brings the total commitment now to €6.3 billion. And we are constantly looking at what else we can do to help Ukraine. And in the here and now, we will continue providing direct military, financial and humanitarian support. And we will keep looking at other ways we can help.
A judge in the U.S. state of Georgia heard the closing arguments in a case that could see the prosecutor removed from Donald Trump's state election interference case. The former president's lawyers are trying to disqualify Fani Willis over an undisclosed affair she had with a top official on her prosecuting team. Nick Harper gets us the details.
Well, this case revolves around Fani Willis, the prosecutor who brought the Georgia election interference case against Donald Trump. It's that case that now hangs in the balance as the judge weighs up whether to remove Willis over her relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade.
Do you have to find that Wade and Willis lied? No. What you need to be able to find is that there is a concern, a legitimate concern based on the evidence in this case about their truthfulness. A legitimate concern about the truthfulness, which equates to an appearance of impropriety. Because once you have the appearance of impropriety under forensic misconduct, the law in Georgia is clear, that's enough to disqualify.
Now, Donald Trump and 14 co-defendants have all pleaded not guilty to charges that they pressured officials in the state of Georgia in 2020 to overturn the election result that saw Trump lose to Joe Biden. But in January this year, the affair between Willis and Wade was revealed, and Trump's team argued that it poses an improper conflict of interest. Willis hired Wade to work on the case, but the pair maintain that their relationship did not start until after Wade was hired, and they say the relationship has no bearing on the case against Trump. But if the judge finds in favour of the former president and removes Willis, it would further slow the case, the exact tactic that Trump is aiming for. He's hoping to win the presidential election in November and work to have the charges against him dropped, in this case and others that he's facing, meaning that he wouldn't have to stand trial. Trump, though, is due in court for his first criminal trial at the end of the month. The case in New York is scheduled to begin on March the 25th and centres on alleged hush money payments to a porn star. It would be Trump's only trial before November, potentially, and that could be because the other criminal cases that he's facing, including this one in Georgia, remain pending, including one in Washington, D.C., that will revolve around a decision that's due in the coming weeks in the US Supreme Court. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Over the weekend, Republicans in several states will get their chance to choose who they want to be their party's presidential nominee. Donald Trump is clearly the frontrunner, having won each primary and caucus contest so far. This weekend's voting will be a last chance for challenger Nikki Haley to build momentum heading into Super Tuesday. US correspondent William Denslow gets us more.
Friday through Sunday, registered Republicans in the District of Columbia, where the White House is located, will have their say on who they want to reside there for the next 4 years. The Republican Party is also holding caucuses in the US states of Michigan, Missouri and Idaho over the weekend. Michigan has already held its presidential primary, which saw Donald Trump handily beat Nikki Haley by over 40 percentage points. 16 delegates were up for grabs in that contest, and Saturday's caucus will determine how the state's remaining 39 delegates will be allocated. For several months, the candidates will crisscross the nation ahead of the Republican National Convention in July, where nearly 2,500 delegates will gather to confirm the party's presidential nominee. That person will then likely square off against Joe Biden in the presidential election on November 5th. Despite finishing behind Donald Trump in all state contests so far, former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley has vowed to stay in the race, at least until Super Tuesday. On March 5th, 16 states will have their say on who they want to see on the ballot come November. In New York, William Denslow, reporting for DD India.
French farmers have staged a protest at St. Paris's iconic Arc de Triomphe as the pressure from the country's agriculture sector shows no sign of letting up. More than 60 people were arrested and the Champs-Élysées was briefly blocked on Friday. DD India's correspondent Ross Cullen gets us more.
Well, farmers are accustomed to getting up early, and on Friday they staged a pre-dawn protest here in Paris, a reminder of their determination to achieve their demands. They have been railing for weeks over high production costs, price pressures from retailers, and also they say they are being undercut by cheap imports from Ukraine. This is the Champs-Élysées, one of the most famous avenues in the world, in the centre of the French capital, and it was briefly blocked on the morning of the 1st of March when farmers dumped straw bales here on the road. The protest was held just ahead of the final weekend of the Paris Agriculture Show, one of the biggest farming fairs in the world. Earlier in the week, President Macron was heckled and booed when he attended the fair, which was held amid the continuing demonstrations from farmers over red tape and also fuel taxes. Now, the French Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, says there will be more financial support for the farming sector, a new pricing law, and also some changes to pesticide rules, an attempt to appease the agriculture sector. But it does seem for now that farmers are determined to continue with their protests. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, public transport strikes in Germany bring life on the verge of a standstill. Stay with us to know the cause of the strikes. Texas governor warns of enormous potential fire dangers as a deadly inferno scorches more than 1 million acres of land. Stay with us as we get you more on the glittering Brit Awards, the biggest night in the British music calendar.
We are taking a close look at the US presidential election 2024. This year, there are approximately 64 elections scheduled around the world, but probably the most consequential of them all is going to be in the United States.
Hedging against, at the official level, America not being the friendly, open partner that it's always been is extremely important, but it is a very complex world that we live in. One has to both hedge and also invest at the same time. It's extremely complex, but unfortunately there is no alternative.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DT India News Hour. Let's get you more international updates. Alexander Stubb took office as the 13th president of Finland on Friday during a session of the Finnish parliament. Stubb, 55 years of age, succeeds Sauli Niinisto, who served as Finland's head of state for 12 years. Stubb won the presidential election in February, and he once served as Finnish Prime Minister and Foreign Minister. The President and Prime Minister, Petteri Orpo, both belong to the National Coalition Party. The presidential transition in Finland came against the backdrop of a major political conflict over the cabinet's plans to cut back social security and terms of labour. During his campaign, Stubb said that he saw no limits for Finland's participation in NATO and would be ready to let nuclear weapons be transported through Finland, though not stored there, as the country abandoned decades of military non-alignment.
Kaikki on muuttunut, eikä mikään.
Minä, Kai-Göran Alexander Stubb, jonka Suomen kansa on valinnut Suomen tasavallan presidentiksi. Vakuutan, että minä presidentin toimessani vilpittömästi ja uskollisesti noudatan tasavallan valtiosääntöä ja lakeja sekä kaikin voimin edistän Suomen kansan menestystä. Edessämme on nyt uusi aikakausi. Sotilaallisen liittoutumisen ja NATO-jäsenyyden myötä olemme ottaneet lopullisen askeleen siihen läntiseen arvoyhteisöön, jonne tasavaltamme on henkisesti kuulunut koko itsenäisyytensä ajan.
Public transport strikes brought parts of Germany to a standstill on Friday, and some spillover impact is also expected over the weekend. Transport worker unions are demanding a reduction in working hours and a bump in their holiday entitlement. Our correspondent Nishan Garg has more on this.
Public transport in some parts of Germany is still expected to be impacted. The big day of disruptions was Friday, though, when most of the country's trains, buses and trams stood still. Most big cities, including the capital Berlin, faced massive disruptions. Friday's strike also coincided with a large pro-climate protest which called for greener public transport. One of Germany's biggest transport unions, Verdi, had called for a strike demanding better working conditions for its members. It organized protests in 14 of Germany's 16 provinces, a move that some transport operators have called unnecessary and extreme. Facing rising costs and shortages, Verdi says workers are being stretched beyond capacity and should be compensated for extra working hours and get more holidays. The organization represents some 90,000 transport workers and close to 2 million workers in total. The largest European economy, which is Germany, has been hit by waves of strikes in the past year, which has affected rail and air travel too. And more disruptions are likely, with train unions now also threatening to strike as their negotiations with the state-owned rail operator over working conditions have hit a roadblock. Reports say more young people getting involved in unions has increased their bargaining power. Analysts believe it's one of the biggest factors behind repeated strikes in Germany. Some residents are sympathetic to the cause of workers, but others say the inconvenience caused by strikes is simply too much. Ashan Garg in Brussels, reporting for DD India.
Political party Sinn Féin leader Mary-Lou McDonald advocated for a united Ireland during a keynote address at the Irish Unity Summit held in New York. The leader called for a united Ireland as she referred to proposals published this week for a unity referendum. McDonald also highlighted the transformation of the political landscape in the South.
As an Irish Republican, I advocate for a united Ireland. As an Irish Republican, I see every person who argues for the preservation of the union with Britain, every person of British identity, as an equal. No caveats, no exceptions, all equal.
Argentine President Javier Milei vowed to speed up his plans to overhaul the country and solve its economic woes in a fiery speech to Congress on Friday. Milei challenged the Congress to pass a new package of bills after an earlier version of his omnibus reform was rebuffed last month. Milei, speaking to lawmakers in the State of the Union style address, took an aggressive tone, inviting Congress to join him, but warning that he would make changes with or without the legislature. The speech underscored Milei's determination to put ahead with divisive economic reforms and austerity measures that have boosted markets but have sparked protests, including outside of Congress on Friday, and pushback among the lawmakers.
Y vamos a cumplir la promesa que le hicimos a la sociedad con o sin el apoyo de la dirigencia política. Lo haremos con las herramientas que nos puedan brindar o lo haremos únicamente con los resortes legales del Poder Ejecutivo, como venimos haciendo hasta ahora. Porque nosotros, cuando nos encontramos con un obstáculo, no vamos a dar marcha atrás, vamos a seguir acelerando.
Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva met with Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, while the leaders attended the 8th Community of Latin American and Caribbean States Summit in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. At the summit, Venezuela's President Maduro was also seen exchanging gifts with Guyana's President Irfan Ali. Earlier, Da Silva informed that he would hold a bilateral meeting with Maduro and said that Brazil is working hard to maintain South America as a zone of peace. Mexico gears up for its presidential election. The 2024 presidential elections will test the nation's democratic system. Mexico's ruling and opposition party presidential candidates kicked off their campaign on Friday for elections with a rally in Mexico's Zocalo Square. Millions of Mexican citizens will cast their ballots on June 2nd to elect a new president. Japanese UN envoy Yamazaki Kazuyuki held a press conference on Friday as Japan assumed the role of the president of the UN Security Council for the month of March in New York.
Good afternoon.
Yamazaki announced two featured events in March. The first, titled Maintenance of International Peace and Security, Nuclear Disarmament and Non-Proliferation, is scheduled for March 18th. The second event, an open debate on promoting conflict prevention, empowering all actors, including women and youth, will be held on 13th of March. Yamazaki described March 18th meeting as very comprehensive and stated that the ultimate goal is to lead to a world without nuclear weapons.
Good afternoon.
As only country which suffered the nuclear attack in this history, Japan is very keen to this issue, and our thought on this month's meeting is very comprehensive. So we would like to our ultimate goal. Our goal is that we will lead to the world without nuclear weapons.
Fire crews in the Texas Panhandle battle to get tighter grip on the state's largest wildfire on record, grappling with the intense flow of gusty winds that have fanned an inferno devastating the cattle ranching region. The deadly wildfire has scorched more than 1 million acres. Since Monday, the blaze has spread eastward, pushing across the state's border with Oklahoma. Texas governor has warned of enormous potential fire danger in the affected area over the weekend.
We face enormous potential fire dangers as we head into this weekend. No one can let down their guard. Everyone must remain very vigilant. Winds are going to pick back up. The right elements for a fire will be around.
The Brit Awards, the biggest night in the British music calendar, are being held on Saturday night at London's O2 Arena. The red carpet event will see performances from Dua Lipa, Trace and Status and Kylie Minogue. Also, it's newcomer Ray who is dominating the headlines, having been nominated for a record 7 awards. Stuart Smith gets us details.
It's already been announced on Wednesday that Ray has won the Songwriter of the Year award. After leaving her record label in 2021 and taking the leap as an independent artist, Ray has had a hugely successful chart-topping 2023. Now she becomes the first artist ever to be nominated for 7 separate awards at the Brits in 1 year, something she's described as a miracle. Ray said that she was honoured and blown away by the news that she has won the Songwriter of the Year award. Her song lyrics have attracted critical praise, dealing with difficult and personal subject matters, including body dysmorphia, sexual assault, insecurity and addiction, something that she says, despite being hard at times, is very medicinal and very raw and therapeutic. Alongside her, other performers include multi-Brit Award winner Dua Lipa, herself nominated for 3 awards, Chase and Status, Ellie Goulding and Calvin Harris. Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus and Olivia Rodrigo are all nominated in the international categories. Kylie Minogue is also expected to perform on the night, having taken part in some of the most memorable Brit performances over the years, and is set to receive the Global Icon Prize at this year's awards. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
Up next, a quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. For the first time, the University of the Philippines is offering a course to study the celebrity status of 14-time Grammy winner Taylor Swift and her impact on society. More than 300 students have signed up for the elective course. The university professor claims that the course will guide students through an analysis of the 34-year-old pop star's relation to celebrity studies and political economy. Norway is keen to remain admitted in Malaysian hospital for treatment and rest before returning home to Norway. A medical evacuation airplane arrived in Langkawi on Friday after leaving Oslo the previous day. King Harald is Europe's oldest living monarch, ruling since 1991. He has been repeatedly hospitalized with infections in recent years and has also undergone heart surgery. Animal rights activists from PETA disrupted Victoria Beckham's runway show in Paris. The activists jumped onto the runway in between the show and wearing t-shirts with the message "Animals aren't fabric" before being taken away by security from the show, showcasing collection of sheer and boxy coats for her fall collection. Emergency services freed a truck driver trapped in a vehicle dangling off the side of a bridge in Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville police officials say the accident was the result of a collision with several other vehicles. Local officials make safety inspections and reopened the bridge. You're watching DD India News Hour. Up next, a short break, but after the break, an explosion at Rameswaram Cafe in South India's Bengaluru stuns all, injuring 7 people. Investigation underway. The indirect tax collection crosses 1.6 lakh crore mark in India, clocking a robust 12.5% increase as against the same month last year. Tourists continue flocking to Gulmar, mesmerized by the pristine beauty of nature in the snow-capped mountains.
We are taking a close look at the US presidential election 2024. This year, there are approximately 64 elections scheduled around the world, but probably the most consequential of them all is going to be in the United States.
Hedging against, at the official level, America not being the friendly, open partner that it's always been is extremely important, but it is a very complex world that we live in. One has to both hedge and also invest at the same time. It's extremely complex, but unfortunately there is no alternative.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories once again. Pressure mounts for inquiry into the loss of lives in northern Gaza. Several countries back UN's call for an inquiry. Biden says US military to airdrop food and supplies into Gaza. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in West Bengal to visit Bihar later today. Will lay the foundation stones of several development projects in both the states. Indian stock exchanges BSE and NSE conduct special live trading sessions on Saturday to test preparedness for disruption. And Andrei Rublev defaulted from Dubai Tennis Championship semi-final for yelling at a line judge. Indian President Draupadi Murmu, on the last day of her visit to the Indian state of Odisha, is scheduled to visit Sambalpur. President Murmu will visit Santa Kabi Bhima Bhoi Pitha to pay homage at the statue of Santa Kabi Bhima Bhoi. Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan will also join the President. President Murmu is on a 4-day tour to her home state Odisha. She will also meet the followers of Mahima cult at the mini stadium of Sambalpur. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the eastern state of West Bengal, where he will inaugurate, dedicate and lay the foundation stone of multiple development projects worth 15,000 crore rupees today. The projects are related to sectors like power, rail and road. Prime Minister will also inaugurate multiple development projects worth over 34,000 crore rupees in Bihar later in the day. He will be attending programs in Aurangabad and Begusarai. In Aurangabad, the Prime Minister will inaugurate, dedicate and lay the foundation stone of different development projects worth more than 21,400 crore rupees. National Highways Network, rail infrastructure, Namami Gange program will get a major boost in Bihar. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone of 6 new lane bridge across River Ganga in Patna. He will also lay the foundation stone of Unity Mall in Patna. Further, in a significant boost to the energy sector, nationwide projects worth 1.4 lakh crore rupees related to oil and gas sector will be taken up at Bihar's Begusarai. All right, DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal joins us for more. Dibyendu, good morning. We've just given a broad outline of the Prime Minister's visit to West Bengal and Bihar, and in a nutshell, infrastructure development and ease of living for the people in both the states has been given utmost priority when we talk of the number of inaugural projects that will be launched by the Prime Minister today.
Well, good morning, Preeti. That's absolutely right. You know, the Prime Minister is on a 2-day visit to the eastern state of West Bengal, and from there he will be moving to Bihar later in the day. Remember, yesterday he was in West Bengal, where he inaugurated a slew of projects for the improvement of railway sector, energy sector, roads, highways, etc. So also today he is in fact in Krishnanagar currently is what we are hearing. He will also be addressing a massive gathering that is waiting there to hear the Prime Minister in a short while from now. The Prime Minister will also be inaugurating a slew of projects, as you rightly said, worth more than 15,000 crores. That will lead to the development of West Bengal in the coming time. These are multiple projects which includes thermal power station in the energy sector. There will also be multiple road sector inauguration and foundation stone laying ceremonies that will be held by the Prime Minister in Krishnanagar today. And also, not just this, even in Bihar, he is visiting Begusarai as well as Aurangabad later in the day when he will be inaugurating also in Bihar a number of projects for the development of the state. As you also said about the Namami Ganga project, this has been in fact one of the biggest projects of Namami Gange in Bihar. He will also be inaugurating a railway bridge in the state of Bihar later in the day today. You know, the number of projects that the Prime Minister has been inaugurating over the last couple of days is going to change the face of the country in the coming times. These are some of the developmental projects which were stuck for many years and which will be completed in the coming time. So this is perhaps the Prime Minister's vision for Viksit Bharat, which is a developed India in the coming time. And the Prime Minister is wasting no time to in fact inaugurate or perhaps give these projects to the states which were due for some time now. So the Prime Minister's visit to West Bengal is certainly very important because these projects will take shape for the development of Bengal and Bihar. Back to you.
Yes, when you're talking of the Prime Minister's program in Bihar, then he will be inaugurating a number of projects. He will also be inaugurating a 6-lane bridge over River Ganga, and also he will be laying the foundation stone of Unity Mall in Patna. But also, Dibyendu, spell out more details on the Prime Minister's program in Aurangabad.
Oh, well, the Prime Minister is also expected to address a rally at Aurangabad after he inaugurates these number of projects. Also, the Prime Minister, as you said, will be the key aspect of, the visit to Bihar is perhaps the Prime Minister's development agenda, where he is going to take a number of projects with him when he visits the state of Bihar, where he will lay foundation stones, also inaugurate a number of other projects in the state, not just in Aurangabad, but also in Begusarai as well as in Patna, which is the capital of Bihar. So, as I also said about the Namami Gange project, Ganga rejuvenation has been one of the principal aim of this government. Remember, this government had created a separate ministry of Ganga rejuvenation when it came to power in 2014. So Ganga has obviously been one of the key aspects of this government, and the government's project for cleaning of Ganga in Bihar is significant enough because from Bihar the Ganga flows into Bengal and then into the Bay of Bengal. So the downstream of the river Ganga, the cleaning of the downstream of river Ganga is something that the government is perhaps taking up seriously, and these projects in Bihar will significantly change how the state looked at development some years back.
All right. Thank you so much, Dibyendu, for joining in with those details. We'll come back to you again during the day when the Prime Minister inaugurates the projects in Bihar through the day. And up next, we'll get you more insights into Prime Minister's visit. He will be on Friday laying the foundation stone and he in fact laid the foundation stones and inaugurated the multiple projects in West Bengal, and getting you more on that. Also, he did inaugurate a number of projects in Jharkhand as well on Friday. Now, these are the engagements of the Prime Minister on Friday. Just a while back, Dibyendu was telling us about the engagements of the Prime Minister in West Bengal and Bihar today, that is Saturday. Talking of Prime Minister's program and engagements in Jharkhand and West Bengal yesterday, he laid the foundation stone and unveiled development projects worth 35,700 crore rupees or $4.46 billion in Jharkhand. While in West Bengal, Prime Minister dedicated to the nation and also laid the foundation stone of development projects worth 7,200 crore rupees or $900 million in Arambagh. The projects relate to various sectors including rail, ports, coal, oil pipeline, LPG supply and wastewater treatment. A detailed report ahead.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the eastern state of West Bengal and Jharkhand on Friday. In Jharkhand, Prime Minister laid the foundation stone and dedicated to the nation multiple development projects worth 35,700 crore Indian rupees or $4.46 billion in Sindri, Dhanbad. Some of these projects which Prime Minister dedicated to the nation in Jharkhand included important power projects including Unit 1 660 megawatt of Northern Karanpur Super Thermal Power Project, Chhatra and Hindustan Urvarak and Rasayan Limited Sindri Fertilizer Plant. Prime Minister dedicated and laid the foundation stone for several rail projects worth more than 17,600 crores in Jharkhand. Prime Minister also inspected the Hindustan Urvarak and Rasayan Limited model and took a walkthrough of the Sindri plant control room. Prime Minister recalled his resolution to start the Sindri fertilizer plant. He said the start of this plant will generate employment opportunities for local youth.
मैं 2018 में इस फर्टिलाइजर प्लांट का शिलान्यास करने आया था। आज सिर्फ सिंदरी कारखाने की ही शुरुआत नहीं हुई है, बल्कि मेरे देश के, मेरे झारखंड के नौजवानों के लिए रोजगार के हजारों नए अवसरों की शुरुआत हुई है। इस खाद कारखाने के लोकार्पण के साथ ही आज भारत ने आत्मनिर्भरता की ओर भी एक बड़ा कदम उठाया है।
In West Bengal, Prime Minister dedicated to the nation and laid the foundation stone for multiple development projects worth 7,200 crores or $900 million in Arambagh, Hubli. Some of the projects which were inaugurated included Indian Oil's 518-kilometer Haldia-Baruni crude oil pipeline, Indian Oil's LPG bottling plant with a capacity of 120 TPA at Vidyasagar Industrial Park in Kharagpur. Third, rail-mounted quake crane of Haldia Dock Complex with a lifting capacity of 40 tons. Rail projects worth about 2,680 crores or $335 million. 3 projects related to wastewater treatment and sewerage in West Bengal. The PM reiterated the priorities of empowerment of youth, women, farmers and the poor. Prime Minister also mentioned government's effort which helped to lift almost 250 million people out of poverty.
बीते 10 वर्षों में देश के 25 करोड़ लोग गरीबी से बाहर निकले हैं। ये दिखाता है कि हमारी सरकार की दिशा सही है, नीतियां सही है, निर्णय सही है और उसका मूल कारण नीयत सही है।
On Saturday, Prime Minister will visit Krishnanagar Nadia district in West Bengal. Later in the afternoon, Prime Minister will also visit Aurangabad and Begusarai in the Indian state of Bihar to unveil multiple projects there. Bureau Report, TD India.
Indian Minister Piyush Goyal hailed India's successful navigation of critical issues at the 13th WTO Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi, ensuring the protection of farmers and fishermen. He emphasized that India achieved its expected outcomes, safeguarding these sectors from harm.
I think it's a good outcome. We are completely satisfied. We are delighted that we could welcome 2 new members after many years. A lot of issues continue to make progress in terms of discussions. India continues to retain full policy space for the benefit of our farmers, our fishermen, and in every respect, we have been able to protect India's interests.
At least 9 persons were injured in an explosion at the popular Rameswaram cafe in South India's Bengaluru on Friday. The blast was caused by a low-intensity improvised explosive device. The injured have been shifted to a nearby hospital. The explosive device was kept in a bag placed near the cash counter by a person, which exploded at around 1:30 p.m. on Friday. A team of National Investigation Agency visited the spot and collected forensic material. Police have detained 1 person and is being questioned. The investigation authorities are also examining the CCTV footage and other evidence at the blast site for further leads. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Iconic pop superstar Rihanna left India on Saturday after performing at the first day of the pre-wedding ceremonies of billionaire Mukesh Ambani's youngest son, Anands. The artist was invited with a team of dancers and musicians to kickstart the big fat celebrations in western Jamnagar before the wedding in July. Anands' pre-wedding bash was attended by Qatar Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, former US President, advisor and daughter of Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, and high-profile cricketers, business tycoons, and also Bollywood stars including Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan. Gulmar, a winter wonderland in India's Jammu and Kashmir, has been drawing attention of tourists. From foreign skiers to adventure lovers, everyone is attracted towards Gulmar following the recent snowfall in the higher reaches of the valley. The snow-domed Gulmar reflects the pristine beauty of nature as its meadows serve as a paradise for those seeking adventure and the thrill of downhill descents. The indirect tax collection has crossed 1.6 lakh crore mark in India. A total of 1,68,337 crore rupees gross GST revenue has been collected during the month of February. This marks a robust 12.5% increase as compared to that in the same month last year. The Indian Navy is set to induct the MH-60R multi-mission helicopters into its fleet in March. The squadron will be commissioned into the Navy at INS Garuda, the Naval Air Station in Kochi. The MH-60R is designed for anti-surface warfare, search and rescue operations, medical evacuation and vertical replenishment. A short break ahead on DD India News Hour. But after the break, Swiss National Bank Chairman Thomas Jordan to step down in September. Stay with us as we get to the possible successors. India's milk production to increase to 30% of the total production in the world by 2030, further strengthening India's position as the highest milk producer. Pankaj Advani advances into the semi-finals of the CCI Snooker Classic.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get to updates from the world of business now. Swiss National Bank Chairman Thomas Jordan will step down in September, which is 3 years early after more than a decade at the helm. During this period, the central bank wrestled with crises including Credit Suisse's collapse and a supercharged franc. Despite winning the battle against resurgent inflation, Jordan was criticized for SNB's slow response to the unfolding crisis at Credit Suisse, which culminated in the collapse of Switzerland's second biggest bank last year. Potential successors could include Jordan's deputy, Martin Schlegel, SNB's current vice chairman, or Andrea Michler, SNB's first female governing board member who left the bank last year to join the bank for international settlements. Jordan said the Credit Suisse episode had not influenced his decision to go.
The Swiss National Bank delivered as a lender of last resort really to avoid a financial crisis. We had the biggest lender of last resort operation ever globally. So the Swiss National Bank was ready there all the time. So that would not have been a good moment. But today we have again re-established financial stability. We have re-established price stability. So I think it's a good time for leaving office.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen underscored the United States' keen interest in deepening ties with Chile. Yellen lauded Chile's government for its leadership in the energy transition, including through rapid work to decarbonize the electricity sector, leading green bond issuance and supporting progress in the domestic lithium industry. The visit is part of a broader push by the Biden administration to reduce its reliance on critical minerals from China and to build more diversified and resilient supply chains.
Furthering both our climate agendas and our energy security also depends on building green and resilient supply chains involving both the U.S. and Chile. As a leading producer of both copper and lithium, Chile has a critical role to play in the supply chains that will power our world's transition to clean energy, and American companies are investing.
Indian stock market special test sessions began with a positive start. Nifty crossed 22,400 for the first time. Sensex rose to over 200 points to record high. All sectors were trading in green when the markets opened. The special session is being conducted to strengthen the exchanges in the event of any unforeseen incident which may impact their operations. So the Indian stock market is open today during the special trading session. However, trading activities taking place in the equity market only. Trading in the commodity market will remain suspended as usual for the weekend on the weekend days. The special trading session is taking place in two phases. The first phase was conducted for a 45-minute session that started at 9:15 a.m. that continued till 10 a.m. The second special live trading session will commence at 11:30 a.m. and conclude at 12:30 p.m. Each session following pre-opening windows spanning a few minutes. Securities in the future and options segment have upper and lower circuit limits of 5%, while those with a 2% limit will maintain their existing 2% circuit limit. The measure prevents excessive volatility and maintains market stability during the live trading session. The special session was to be held on January 20th, but due to Ram Temple consecration ceremony in Ayodhya, a full-fledged trading session was held on January 20th, and January 22nd was declared a holiday for stock markets. India's milk production will increase to 30% of the total production in the world by 2030. Now, India is the highest milk producer and ranks on the first position in the world, contributing 24.64% of global milk production in the year 2021-22. The milk production of India has registered 58% increase during the last 9 years. During the year 2014 to 15 and 2022 to 23, and increased to 230.58 million tons in the year 2022-23. The chairman and managing director of India's National Dairy Development Board says that in the coming years, India will be producing 1/3 of the milk in the world.
We are actually producing 24% of the world's milk production. Now, our plan is to increase this 24% share in the world to 30% by 2030. So, from 1/4, we will be producing 1/3 of milk produced in the world in our country.
From business, let's turn focus to sports now. Multiple world champion Pankaj Advani clinched a hard-fought 6-4 win over Nitesh Madan in a best-of-11 frame quarter-final match at the CCI Snooker Classic. Advani secured a 61-51, 78-8, 75-2, 57-68, 4-61, 15-71, 89-9, 108-9, 54-65 and 102-0 win against Madan in a thrilling quarter-final match. In the semi-finals, defending champion Advani will meet Lakshman Rawat, who overcame a spirited Pushinder Singh in a stirring quarter-final. Indian women's doubles pair of Teresa Joly and Gayatri Gopichand bowed out in the quarterfinals of the German Open Super 300 badminton tournament with a straight game loss to the Chinese duo of Li Yijing and Lu Zhoumin. Joly and Gopichand, 23rd in the badminton rankings, went down to their 22nd ranked Chinese opponents 21-16, 21-14 in straight game. With the result, India's challenge ended at the German Open. On to tennis now. Andrei Rublev was defaulted from the Dubai Tennis Championships semi-finals for the unsportsmanlike conduct after yelling at a line judge in the final set of a tense encounter against Alexander Bublik. In a chaotic match where both competitors fumed at the officials at various points, Rublev was defaulted by the chair umpire after a Russian-speaking official appeared to accuse him of using an obscenity while he screamed at the line judge. Rublev denied the allegation and said that he had spoken in English during the confrontation. Bublik was awarded the win despite saying that he would be happy to continue the match. Rublev lashed out at the line official at the change of ends after disagreeing with the call. In the second semi-final, Daniil Medvedev endured a disappointing outing as the world number 4 crashed to a 7-5, 6-3 loss against 5th-seeded Frenchman Hugo Humbert. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.